As Vancouver real estate prices hit astronomical levels, the provincial government decided to impose a 15% foreign buyers tax. This was to slow down the red-hot market, and it seemed to have a profound effect. With all of the currency still fleeing China every day, where has it been going? You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Let's get into this today. We're going to look at real estate. We're going to look at China. I also want to mention a few other things. Let's get to it. Beginning with this article, okay? Chinese real estate investment abroad rose by more than half to a new high, highlighting the potentially disruptive impact of tighter capital controls, very important, imposed late in the year to discourage outbound money flows. Can you believe it? Overseas investment from China in residential, commercial, and industrial property totaled $33 billion in 2016. That's up 53% from a year earlier. That's massive. That's huge. The amount of money flowing out of China directly into real estate investments. The US was the most popular destination for the second consecutive year, drawing in $14 billion of investments. Just the amount of land, businesses, real estate that are being purchased by Chinese in the US is absolutely huge. Now, they're not the only ones, of course. You could see as the other half is being purchased elsewhere. Then you got Hong Kong, Malaysia, Australia. The UK was ranked 5th, and it goes on. But those are just some of the markets. You have to understand that money has been flowing significantly into Vancouver specifically. Not necessarily all of Canada, but primarily, number one, Vancouver. So let's look at this for a moment here. Chinese real estate buyers are suddenly descending on the Seattle region. Some are lured by perceptions the coastal city is a bargain, others by warm memories of the movie that was filmed there. But the biggest draw is the decision of the BC government to impose a 15% tax on foreign buyers of lower mainland residential real estate. It's big news to see that imposing a 15% tax had a direct response in the amount of people that are purchasing land there or property. This data was from this website, juwai.com, which showed internet searches in China for Vancouver real estate were down 37% in December from the same time a year ago. It also mentions the fact that in Seattle, those percentages are up significantly. I believe it's like over 100% there. So more searches are going on to basically purchase these properties in Seattle. They're reasonably close together, and at the same time, for a foreign investor, I mean, you don't necessarily care that much. It's an investment. You just want to buy the property and make a profit. That's simply the way it goes. So whether you buy it in Vancouver or whether you buy it in Seattle, to you it might not make much of a difference if you're an individual living and working and everything else in China. That's what's happening, and I see it having a direct effect. Let's move on to this article out of the Wall Street Journal. The provincial government says the tax policy is aimed at making homes in the city more affordable for local residents who have seen prices soar by nearly 50% over the past 3 years. Nobody can keep up with 50% rise in your home price every 3 years. It's literally impossible. Your wages don't even come close to being able to deal with that. If you weren't in the market, you would be out of the market. I assure you. That's why more people are renting, but at the same time, rental prices are going up. It's a trap. It's squeezing people out. So what do? You downsize. You have to get properties that are probably too small for you or a little uncomfortable. Or you can move further away, but that means more driving. That means more commuting. That means less time to do what you want to do. This is also interesting here. The city of Vancouver also introduced a separate vacancy tax of 1% on the assessed value of an empty property. Once again, trying to get people to not necessarily speculate, buy homes, wait for them to rise in value, then sell them back in the market. They want people who, are going to live in them to be buying them. So it's interesting the way that they are tackling this here. And as an investor, you weigh out your options. And if you think it's going to be too expensive to buy in Vancouver, well, you're simply going to move your money elsewhere. And that is what is happening. The moves have had a chilling effect. This talks about basically the web searches in here. And you'll know that what we can assume is that this will continue. As long as they have this 15% foreign buyers tax, we can expect that less money, there's always going to be that need for it, but less money will find its way towards Vancouver and start to go into other markets. And that's the intention. That was the intention that seems to have definitely worked. You can't have this rising forever, and the people who live there are really getting punished. I mean, that's just the way it is, but it seems to be hurting people. That's all I'm noting. House Hunters International new taxes in Vancouver appear to be driving the Chinese homebuyers to Seattle, which led the U.S. in home price growth in November. Definitely, you can see that they're showing the web searches again, but home price growth on the right side changed from a year earlier. You can see this definite increase. It's much higher in Seattle than the rest of the U.S., and I believe it has definitely something to do with this. Switching gears just a little bit here. Whenever there's government intervention, there's always failure. I mean, that's one of the main themes from my book, The Money GPS, is the failure of government. And this is one very good example. You may disagree, that's fine. I'm not going to cover any particular points from this, but basically it says this: to California residents who are living in San Francisco, right here, let's try to get that. Your community college is now free. So basically free education, community college level, as long as you live there. And it's similar to, I believe I covered it here on the channel. Last month, New York governor saying that he's going to provide free tuition to any residents whose families earn less than $125,000 per year. Now, it sounds good. Now, what you can say is that people with these educations are going to be able to get good jobs. This is the theory anyway. They're going to be able to get good jobs. That will, of course, boost the economy. If they couldn't afford it, then they would have to take a lower paying job. Ultimately, they wouldn't be able to spend so much in the economy. Look, we need things, very highly skilled individuals, like, just as an example, surgeons. Obviously, very, very crucial. Every city needs these highly skilled people. And, if they're starting out in an unfortunate situation, they won't be able to afford that. So I would say that, you look at it that way, surely this is a great thing. But who pays for it? It's not free. Let's be clear about that. It's not free education. It's free for the person getting it. But technically, when they have to pay taxes, they are paying for that. Nothing in life is free, and this is just one example. You can't have the government stick their nose into everything. You have over $1 trillion in student loans right now. This is one of the biggest bubbles around. And doing something like this is simply going to blow up these bubbles bigger and bigger and bigger. And ultimately, it's going to be like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac on the backs of the taxpayer for the foreseeable future. This here pissed me off like you wouldn't believe. And I've read about these so many times. I don't like covering it. But I had to. Here we go. This lady decides that her children are not learning in school. She felt the school system was failing them. She decides, I'm going to homeschool my kids. And she said that she spoke to the homeschooling coordinator and said, okay, the kids are your responsibility now. You have to teach them. Okay, cool. No problem. So things took a turn when she said a week later, CPS, Child Pedophilia Services, Child Protective Services, called wondering why her kids weren't in school. I told them that my kids were homeschooled now and I would furnish the documents if they needed to see them. No problem, right? She has the paperwork. She spoke to the school. Everything's all good. Nothing to worry about. Except for the fact that less than a month later, she was confronted by Child Protective Services, that's right, workers and police. They told her they had a court order to steal her children, and when she told them no, she was arrested for obstruction. Arrested for obstruction. Because she wanted to keep her own children in her own home and wanted to homeschool her children on her own because she felt that they were not getting the education that they deserved. And look what happened. This is very, very sinful. And this type of thing happens all the time. Now, you may see in a month from now, she goes through the course and everything else, she gets her kids back. So the kids were in these foster care facilities. Let's say they were there for 2 months. Okay, but they get them back and everything's just fine afterwards. You can't do that. And the whole purpose of this is to try and teach people a lesson that the state is God. And that's what they're trying to push on you and I. And it pisses me off. Let's move on. I didn't know this, but my friends in Norway, if you're listening, please speak up about this. I found this very interesting. I just wanted to bring it to you, the rest of the subscribers. How much does my neighbor, my colleague, and the leader of my country and his wife earn? In Norway, the champion of transparency, that information is available to all just a few clicks away. You basically can figure out or find out on their Norwegian tax administration how much people are making and everything. All these details are available publicly. And I just thought it was interesting. I wanted to know what you guys think, particularly those in Norway. If you could speak to this, it's totally different than what we see in most other countries. In fact, almost everyone that I've ever heard of. And I just thought the transparency is very unique. And I'm wondering if you think it's a good thing or not. I don't know. I'm not giving my opinion. I just want to know what you think. That's all. If you found this video informative, please give me a thumbs up. Last but not least, if you found the video informative, I know you will find my book, The Money GPS, even more informative. So check this out. You can actually flip through the book. Just go over to Amazon. They have a look inside feature that will allow you to flip through the pages of the book and see if you like it. Take care.